Ethan woke to the soft hum of the hospital's life support systems and the faint glow of bioluminescent panels along the walls. The room was strangely quiet except for the occasional beep from his monitoring device. He blinked, trying to remember where he was. Last thing he remembered was the mining accident on Vesper 9, a routine supply run that had gone wrong in the low-gravity tunnels. His leg still throbbed, and a dull ache ran through his shoulder, but aside from that, he was alive. "Good morning, Ethan," a melodic voice said, drawing his attention. He turned his head and saw Lyra standing by the bed. Her shimmering blue-green skin reflected the soft light in the room, making her look almost ethereal. Her large eyes, full of warmth, looked at him with concern. She moved gracefully as if she floated rather than walked. "Morning," Ethan croaked, his throat dry. He tried to sit up, but pain in his leg reminded him why he was here. Lyra gently placed a hand on his shoulder, and he immediately froze. "Take it slow. Your leg needs time," she said, her voice soft but firm. Ethan noticed a subtle warmth radiating from her touch, not unusual for an alien species whose biology emitted low levels of heat. He nodded, trying to relax, but something in her movements seemed different. At first, he dismissed it. She had always been gentle and attentive, but today there was a new energy in her gestures, a kind of excitement that didn't belong to routine care. Her eyes lingered a little longer than usual, and she seemed unusually focused on him. Ethan shook his head. "I'm imagining things," he muttered to himself. The day passed slowly. Ethan was assigned to light therapy for muscle recovery, which involved lying under soft energy panels while a computer monitored his healing. Lyra stayed nearby, adjusting devices and monitoring his vitals. Every time he glanced at her, she seemed slightly flustered, glancing away quickly when their eyes met. By midday, Ethan had enough curiosity to ask, "Lyra, you seem different today. Is something wrong?" Lyra paused, her hands hovering over the control panel. She tilted her head as if considering how to answer. "I am fine, Ethan," she said carefully, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of worry. "Perhaps it is something in my biology." "Biology?" Ethan repeated, raising an eyebrow. "You mean like alien biology?" She nodded slowly. "My species has a period in our life called mating season. It is rare for some of us, but I believe it has begun for me unexpectedly." Ethan froze. The words hit him like a jolt of electricity. Mating season. He had read alien biology manuals before, but this was the first time it was happening to someone he knew personally. The thought of his nurse, calm and professional yesterday, now being driven by an instinct he didn't fully understand, made him nervous. Okay," he stammered, trying to maintain calm. "What does that mean for you?" Lyra blinked, her large eyes widening slightly. "It means my instincts are heightened. I express care differently. I am aware that my behavior may be confusing to humans, but it is involuntary. I must restrain myself so I do not alarm or discomfort you." Ethan ran a hand through his hair, uncertain how to respond. "Right, involuntary," he muttered. "Well, I guess I can handle that. I mean, I'll respect your space." Lyra's eyes softened. "Thank you, Ethan. Your understanding is admirable." Throughout the afternoon, Ethan noticed subtle changes. Lyra hovered near him more often than necessary, her voice carried a softer tone, and she smiled in a way that felt personal, unlike the professional smile she normally offered. She adjusted his pillows repeatedly, checked his temperature, and even offered to fetch meals that he hadn't requested. Each gesture made Ethan increasingly anxious. He understood that her species had different ways of showing attention during mating season, but being on the receiving end of such intense care was overwhelming. At one point, she placed her hand briefly on his arm while helping him adjust a bandage, and he jumped slightly. "It's fine," Lyra said immediately, noticing his reaction. "I must remind myself of human boundaries. I apologize if I startled you." Ethan nodded, trying to smile. "No, it's okay. I just wasn't expecting it." By evening, Ethan's nerves were fraying. He was exhausted from his recovery therapy and the strange tension that came with Lyra's unpredictable behavior. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how he was going to survive the next few days. The hospital corridors buzzed with activity, and through the open door, he could see other staff moving efficiently, treating patients, monitoring systems. Lyra stepped out briefly, giving him a moment of relief, but soon returned with a tray of his dinner. Her movements were brisk, almost hurried but still graceful. "Dinner," she said softly, placing the tray beside him. She lingered for a moment, and Ethan noticed her breathing was slightly faster, almost imperceptibly. Something about her posture and gestures seemed charged, like energy was radiating from her. He forced himself to focus on his meal. "Thank you," he said, trying to maintain calm. Lyra's lips curved in a small smile. "You are welcome, Ethan." After dinner, the hospital's AI announced a mandatory routine check on all patients. Ethan's vitals were within normal range, but he had to undergo a mobility assessment to track his healing progress. Lyra accompanied him, as usual, supporting him with her hands on his arms. "Try to walk to the end of the hall slowly," she instructed. Her voice was steady, but Ethan noticed a subtle quiver, a nervous energy she could not hide. As they moved down the corridor, other medical staff glanced at them briefly, noting Lyra's unusually energetic behavior. Ethan felt their gazes but focused on not falling. Halfway down the hall, he stumbled slightly, and Lyra's hand shot out instinctively to steady him. Ethan's heart raced. The closeness, the sudden warmth from her touch, and the intensity in her eyes made him aware of the strange dynamics between human and alien biology. "I've got it," he said quickly, stepping back. "Really, I'm okay." Lyra blinked, her face showing mild surprise at his firm tone. "Understood," she replied, taking a step back herself. She seemed momentarily conflicted, as if her instincts were battling her understanding of human boundaries. They reached the end of the hall, and Ethan tried to steady his racing thoughts. He realized that Lyra's actions, while instinctual, were not threatening. Her intent was care, but the unfamiliarity of alien mating season made him anxious. He resolved to learn more about her species' behaviors to navigate this situation without fear. Later, in the recovery room, Ethan accessed the hospital's database to study Lyra's species. He learned about their mating rituals, their heightened sensitivity during mating season, and their tendency to express affection physically and emotionally. The more he read, the more he understood why Lyra behaved the way she did. Her biological drive was strong, but she was consciously restraining herself to respect his comfort. By the end of the day, Ethan had developed a strategy: observe, communicate, and set boundaries clearly but politely. He decided that tomorrow he would talk to Lyra, not to scold or reprimand, but to explain how humans perceive personal space and affection. That night, as he tried to sleep, he heard soft footsteps outside his room. He opened his eyes and saw Lyra standing in the doorway, holding a small vial of medication. She hesitated, her bioluminescent skin glowing softly in the dim light. "I thought you might need this," she said, her voice almost whispering. There was an unusual nervousness in her posture, and Ethan realized that her instincts made her seek closeness even while trying to respect his boundaries. "Thanks," he said, taking the vial. "I appreciate it." Lyra nodded, her eyes meeting his. For a moment, neither spoke. There was a silent understanding, a mutual acknowledgement of the strange situation they were in. Ethan felt a flicker of admiration for her restraint. Despite her biological drive, she had not crossed his boundaries. He realized that humans were adaptable. They could face unknown situations, learn quickly, and respond with respect and intelligence. Lyra finally turned to leave, but paused at the doorway. "Good night, Ethan," she said softly. "Good night, Lyra," he replied. As she left, Ethan lay back on the bed, reflecting on the day. He knew the next few days would be challenging. Lyra's instincts were only going to intensify, but he felt a strange sense of confidence. Humanity had always survived against odds, against unfamiliar planets, against strange and powerful forces. Now, faced with an alien nurse's mating season, he would survive too, through patience, understanding, and the ability to learn. And somewhere deep inside, he couldn't help but be curious about tomorrow. How would Lyra act? How would he respond? It was a puzzle of biology, emotion, and culture, and Ethan realized that humans excelled at puzzles, no matter how complex or alien they were. Sleep came slowly, but when it did, Ethan felt prepared. Tomorrow would be strange. Tomorrow would be confusing. But he would face it, as humans always did, with courage, intelligence, and respect for life, even when that life was not his own species. The next morning, Ethan woke to the faint glow of the hospital lights and the soft hum of the machines. He stretched slowly, feeling the soreness in his muscles from yesterday's therapy. He sighed and rubbed his temples, thinking about Lyra. Her sudden behavioral changes were still on his mind. He had spent the night reviewing her species, biology, and social rituals, trying to understand what he could expect. The door slid open quietly, and Lyra entered with her usual grace. Today, she seemed more energetic, her movements smooth and almost mesmerizing. Her large eyes met his, and for a moment Ethan felt that familiar rush of tension. He forced himself to focus on the practical, recovery, therapy, and staying calm. "Good morning, Ethan," she said, her voice carrying the same warmth, though now slightly more playful. "Morning," he replied, swallowing hard. He had learned that acknowledging her presence without overreacting helped him feel in control. "How are you today?" "I am well," Lyra answered. She paused for a moment, clearly measuring her words. "Though my instincts remain heightened, I am conscious of your comfort." Ethan nodded, silently praising her restraint. "I appreciate that, and I'm going to be honest, I might be a bit awkward about it. I just need to know what's okay." Lyra's eyes softened. "I understand, Ethan. I will follow your guidance. Your respect is valuable to me." They spent the morning in therapy together. Ethan went through his mobility exercises while Lyra assisted him. Each step was carefully monitored, and Ethan noticed how much attention she gave him, not just because she was supposed to, but because she genuinely cared. Her movements were instinct-driven, but her conscious mind controlled them to avoid overstepping boundaries. At one point, as Ethan leaned on a support rail, he stumbled slightly. Lyra's hand reached out immediately. Ethan froze but then relaxed, realizing that she would not force him beyond comfort. "You're steady," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. "But I will remain close if you need me." Ethan took a deep breath. He realized humans had an incredible ability to adapt. He had never dealt with alien instincts before, yet here he was, negotiating boundaries, respecting a completely different species, and learning to communicate across biology and culture. After therapy, Lyra prepared a nutrient meal for him. Ethan sat, observing how carefully she worked, as if every motion had a purpose beyond simple service. He noticed subtle signs of her instinctual drive, how her eyes lingered, how she smiled, but also her conscious effort to remain professional and respectful. "You've been very patient with me," she said suddenly, placing the tray on his table. "I admire your control and understanding. It is unusual among humans, I believe." Ethan smiled, a little embarrassed. "Well, humans are adaptable. We can face things that seem impossible and figure out a way through them. You've just made it a little easier to understand because you're open about it." Lyra tilted her head, processing his words. "Open about it? You mean my instincts?" "Yes," Ethan said. "You've shown me that your instincts exist, but you don't act recklessly. You respect me. That's impressive." Lyra's cheeks glowed faintly, a natural bioluminescent response. "I am glad to hear that. I would not wish to discomfort you. Humans are interesting. You observe, learn, and adapt quickly." Ethan chuckled. I guess that's our superpower. We survive by thinking, learning, and understanding others, even aliens. The day continued with a mixture of therapy, conversation, and quiet observation. Ethan noticed that Lyra's instinct-driven energy remained high, but her restraint and awareness made it manageable. Instead of fear or confusion, he found himself fascinated by her species, biology, and psychology. In the afternoon, the hospital's AI issued a minor emergency. A patient from another wing had an allergic reaction to a treatment, and medical staff rushed to assist. Lyra immediately responded, moving with precision and urgency. She grabbed Ethan's attention. You must come with me. Your assistance may be required, she said firmly, her eyes reflecting both instinctual urgency and professional clarity. Ethan hesitated for a moment. He was not trained in emergency alien medical procedures, but he had observed enough to follow instructions. All right, he said, standing and letting her guide him. They arrived in the emergency ward, where chaos reigned. Alien patients of various species were in distress, and medics moved quickly to stabilize them. Lyra's movements were swift and precise, but Ethan noticed how her instincts subtly influenced her actions, how she tended to patients with care and attentiveness that went beyond the usual protocols. Ethan, assist me with these monitors, she instructed. He obeyed, following her gestures and guidance. His human quick thinking helped interpret the alien data, while Lyra's knowledge ensured every patient received the correct care. Together, they formed an efficient team. Through this experience, Ethan realized something remarkable. Humans excel in situations requiring flexibility, intelligence, and empathy. Even in alien environments, humans could adapt and contribute meaningfully. Lyra's instincts were strong, but Ethan's calm and logical thinking complemented her abilities perfectly. After the emergency was resolved, Lyra led him back to his room. She seemed slightly more relaxed, though her bioluminescent glow still pulsed faintly with residual instinct-driven energy. You performed admirably, she said, her voice softening. Your presence was calming, even as my instincts made me restless. I appreciate your steadiness. Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. We made a good team. I think humans are good at staying calm in emergencies. Lyra nodded. Yes, your species has unique qualities: adaptability, reasoning, empathy. Even in the face of instinct-driven behavior, you remain composed. It is remarkable. As evening approached, Ethan prepared for rest. Lyra assisted him with his nightly routine, moving with grace and subtle attentiveness. Ethan noticed how carefully she modulated her instinct-driven impulses, making sure she did not overstep. Her dedication impressed him. Ethan, she said quietly as she prepared the last of his care, I must admit, controlling my instincts is challenging. But your understanding and patience make it manageable. Ethan nodded. I understand, and I respect that it's not easy for you. Humans are good at learning, but respecting another species' biology, that's something else entirely. Lyra's eyes softened. It seems humans are capable of more than I expected. You adapt, learn, and respect. That is honorable. They shared a moment of quiet understanding. Ethan realized that despite the initial shock of Lyra's mating season, the experience had shown him something profound. Humans were not just survivors because of strength or tools. They survived because of intelligence, empathy, and the ability to navigate complex social and biological systems, even those of alien species. That night, Ethan reflected on the day's events. Lyra's instincts had created tension and confusion, but the way he responded, calmly, intelligently, and respectfully, had fostered trust and cooperation. Humanity's strength, he realized, lay not only in physical endurance but in emotional intelligence and adaptability. As he drifted to sleep, he thought about the future. Lyra's mating season would eventually end, but the bond they had formed would remain. He had faced something completely alien and come through with understanding and respect intact. That he realized was a triumph of human capability. The next morning, Lyra entered his room with a smile, her glowing skin dimmed to a calm shimmer. "Good morning, Ethan. Today I feel more balanced. Your guidance yesterday helped me control my instincts." Ethan smiled back. "Glad to hear it, and I think I learned a lot too. Humans can survive alien challenges if we stay calm and understand the other side." Lyra tilted her head, intrigued. "You humans are extraordinary. Even in situations that could overwhelm most beings, you remain composed." "It is admirable." They spent the morning in gentle conversation, therapy, and shared tasks. Ethan noticed that while Lyra's instincts were still present, they no longer caused tension. Instead, they fostered a new level of mutual understanding. By midday, Ethan realized how much he had grown from this experience. He had navigated an unfamiliar biological and cultural system, maintained boundaries, and contributed to meaningful outcomes. Humanity's strength was clear, not just in survival but in cooperation, respect, and learning across species. Lyra's glow pulsed faintly as she adjusted his pillows. "Ethan, you have taught me patience, understanding, and the value of calm intelligence. My instincts may have driven me, but your humanity guided me." Ethan laughed softly. "I guess that's what humans do best. We adapt, learn, and respect life, even when it's very different from our own." Lyra's eyes reflected admiration and warmth. "I see now why humans can thrive across the stars. Your species' capability to understand, respect, and act wisely. It is remarkable. I will remember this always." As evening fell, Ethan and Lyra shared a final moment of reflection before rest. The tension of her mating season had passed, replaced by mutual respect and trust. Ethan felt proud, not just of his own adaptability, but of humanity's enduring strength in the face of the unknown. He closed his eyes, comforted by the thought that humans could navigate even the most alien of challenges with intelligence, empathy, and courage. And somewhere across the stars, he knew humanity's legacy would continue, thriving not only through strength but through understanding, cooperation, and the remarkable ability to connect with beings beyond their own world.